Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be diving into the life and thought of a really fascinating scholar named Ibn al-Qayyim.
Yeah.
He was a scholar in the 13th and 14th centuries.
Right.
And he had some really interesting things to say
Yes, he did.
about faith and law and even just like what it means to live a good life.
Absolutely.
So the main source that we're using for this deep dive is a biography by Salahuddin Ali Abdul Majid.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be fun to kind of see what we can uncover
Sounds good.
about this fascinating figure. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that he lived in a time when like acquiring knowledge was a completely different experience.
Oh, totally. I mean, back then books were handwritten.
Yeah.
They didn't have printing presses.
Right. Yeah.
And libraries were not as common.
Right.
So to become like a real scholar took a lot more effort.
I can't even imagine. It's like every time you wanted to look something up, you had to like go to a specific place and like hope that they had the book that you needed.
Yeah, there's a whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No wonder his own personal library was legendary.
Oh, yeah, they talk about that
Like,
in the biography.
yeah, the bio mentions scholars comparing his knowledge to like a vast ocean.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So he was really dedicated to scholarship.
You know what I wonder?
Oh,
What his search history would have looked like
man,
if he'd had the internet.
that's a great question.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of his dedication, he was a Hanbali scholar,
Right.
which basically means he belonged to this like specific school of thought within Islam.
Exactly.
Right.
Like a denomination almost.
Yeah, but even within that school, he was known for being super independent.
Oh, yeah.
And like not afraid to question the established views.
He wasn't just going with the flow.
Right.
He was really thinking for himself.
Which is super impressive.
Absolutely.
Especially back then.
Yeah. For that time period, to be questioning things like that was pretty radical.
So he wasn't just like blindly following the crowd.
Yeah.
He was like forming his own opinions.
Right.
Based on his research.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes his work so interesting.
Totally.
He had this ability to dive deep into like complex legal matters, challenge traditional interpretations, and really push the boundaries of Islamic thought.
Yeah, and this makes me think about his relationship with Ibn Taymiyyah.
Oh, yeah.
Who was his mentor.
Right, right.
So what can you tell us about that dynamic?
Well, so Ibn Taymiyyah was a really influential figure.
Okay.
But also controversial.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
For his time.
Big time. So he was all about going back to the roots, like the original sources of Islam.
Okay.
He thought that a lot of what people were doing had strayed from the true path. And, he challenged a lot of accepted practices and beliefs.
Wow.
Yeah. So you could say he was leading this kind of revival movement, shaking things up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Ibn al-Qayyim was really inspired by him.
Yeah, the biography even mentions that he wrote poetry about Ibn Taymiyyah.
Oh, wow.
About how Ibn Taymiyyah helped him break free from old ways of thinking and guided him toward this deeper understanding of faith.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful.
That sounds like a powerful connection.
It does.
Right.
Yeah, it really highlights the profound respect and admiration he had for his mentor.
Yeah.
But, it also brings up a question.
What's that?
That some scholars have debated.
Uh-oh.
Was Ibn al-Qayyim truly an original thinker?
Okay.
Or was he just kind of echoing Ibn Taymiyyah's ideas?
So it's like, was he a true innovator or just like Ibn Taymiyyah 2.0?
Exactly.
Right.
That's a good way to put it.
I like that.
And it's something we should keep in mind as we look at his work.
Okay.
But, there's evidence that he wasn't afraid to disagree with his mentor.
Oh, really?
Even on significant legal issues.
Okay, like what?
Like the concept of triple divorce.
Okay, so that was a big deal.
Yeah. Back then, that was huge.
Right. So he was willing to stand apart, even from someone he clearly respected.
It seems like it.
This makes his perspective all the more interesting.
Yeah.
It does.
Definitely.
To have that level of conviction, to disagree with your mentor on sensitive topics.
Yeah.
Suggests a deep sense of intellectual independence.
Yeah, I agree.
So what did Ibn al-Qayyim believe about triple divorce?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He held a view that was considered quite radical at the time.
Okay.
He believed that when a man said, "I divorce you," 3 times in a row, it should only count as a single divorce.
Wow.
And this went against the prevailing opinion, which was that it constituted 3 separate divorces.
Right.
Effectively ending the marriage right then and there.
So like instantly and irrevocably.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a significant difference in interpretation.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
It must caused quite a stir.
Oh, definitely challenging the status quo like that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it shows how he approached Islamic law.
Okay.
He was committed to seeking truth and justice.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't afraid to challenge established norms, even if it meant going against his mentor.
That's a great point. It reminds us that even within a scholarly tradition, there can be room for different interpretations
exactly.
and perspectives.
It's not always about blindly following.
Right.
It's about thinking critically.
Yeah.
And seeking deeper understanding.
Totally.
And that's what makes studying Ibn al-Qayyim so fascinating. He challenges us to think for ourselves.
Right.
And to grapple with complex issues.
Yeah.
And his work goes beyond just dry legal rulings.
Oh.
He also had profound insights into spirituality, the human heart, and how to live a meaningful life.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that.
What were some of his key ideas in these areas?
Well, one of his central themes was this idea of tawhid, which means the oneness of God.
Okay.
And he believed that truly understanding and internalizing this concept was essential for a fulfilling and happy life.
Okay, so I've heard of tawhid.
Yeah.
But I admit I don't fully grasp what it means.
Okay.
Could you break that down for me?
Of course.
And for our listener.
So tawhid is the belief that there is only one God.
Okay.
And that he is the source of all creation, all power and all guidance.
Okay.
It's the foundation of Islamic belief and practice.
Okay.
But Ibn al-Qayyim took this concept further, emphasizing that truly understanding tawhid meant recognizing God's absolute uniqueness and completely submitting to his will.
So it's not just about acknowledging God's existence, but about recognizing his absolute sovereignty.
Exactly.
And aligning your life with that understanding.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this alignment, according to Ibn al-Qayyim, is the key to achieving true peace and happiness.
Interesting.
He believed that when we stray from this understanding of tawhid, we become susceptible to anxieties, desires, and attachments that ultimately lead to unhappiness.
That makes a lot of sense. When we put our faith in things other than God, whether it's wealth or status or even our own intellect, we set ourselves up for disappointment because those things are ultimately fleeting.
Exactly. They don't last.
Right.
They're unreliable.
Unreliable.
And this brings us to another important aspect of his teachings.
Okay.
His focus on the heart. He believed that the heart, not just the mind, was the center of our being.
Interesting.
The seat of our intentions.
Yeah. Our emotions and ultimately our connection with God.
You know, earlier you mentioned that Ibn al-Qayyim's writing isn't just about dry legal discussions.
Right.
Right? And now we're talking about the heart and its role in spirituality.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful reminder that even centuries ago, scholars were exploring these deeper dimensions of human experience.
It's a timeless topic.
Yeah.
And, Ibn al-Qayyim didn't shy away from vivid imagery to illustrate his points.
Oh, really?
So he compared different types of hearts to houses.
Okay.
And imagine he said, a heart filled with faith. It's like a king's treasure vault, heavily guarded against the thief of negative thoughts and destructive desires.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
Right.
Very evocative.
So how do we cultivate a heart like that?
Okay, so good question.
A heart that's strong and resilient.
Yeah.
In the face of life's challenges. So he believed it was a twofold path.
Okay.
Knowledge and action.
Okay.
So studying the Quran and learning about God's attributes is essential.
Right.
But it's not enough.
Gotcha.
You have to also put that knowledge into practice.
Okay.
Living your life in accordance with those teachings.
It's like reading a cookbook versus actually cooking the meal.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
You can have all the knowledge in the world,
yeah,
but it's the application that truly nourishes you.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
So Ibn al-Qayyim was like a living example of this principle.
Oh, yeah. He walked the walk.
Yeah. He was known for his deep devotion and his commitment to living what he preached.
Definitely.
You mentioned earlier that his life was marked by personal loss. as well.
Unfortunately, yes.
Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so despite his profound faith, Ibn al-Qayyim experienced the same kind of pain and sorrow that all humans face. The biography recounts a particular event where he lost a young child during the Hajj pilgrimage.
I can only imagine how devastating that must have been.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Especially in a time and place where travel was so difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
And communication was limited.
It makes it even more tragic.
Yeah.
The biography describes how he searched for days before accepting the loss.
Oh, man.
And he later wrote about this experience. Reflecting on how he turned to God for comfort and found solace in his faith.
You know, that story reminds us that even the most learned scholars, the most devout individuals are not immune to life's challenges.
Absolutely not.
They experience grief, loss, hardship.
It's part of being human.
Just like anyone else.
Exactly.
But it also highlights the strength and resilience that faith can provide.
Absolutely.
In times of adversity.
It's a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to find meaning and solace. Even in the face of profound loss. It's a reminder that faith isn't about avoiding pain. Or escaping life's difficulties. It's about finding strength and purpose within them.
Totally.
Right.
You know, earlier we were talking about his incredible library, the one that scholars compared to Feel Heard.
Oh, yeah.
An ocean of knowledge.
An ocean of books.
I'm curious. Did the biography mention what happened to all those books?
Ooh, good question.
After he passed away?
You know, it's actually a bit of a mystery.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Really?
In those days, it wasn't uncommon for personal libraries to be dispersed among students or family members, or even sold off. So while some may have been preserved, it's likely that the vast majority of his collection is scattered.
Wow.
Perhaps even lost to history.
That's both sad.
It is kind of sad.
And fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
Imagine if some of those books are still out there.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Tucked away in
I know.
private collections or even forgotten corners of libraries around the world.
Yeah, just waiting to be rediscovered.
What a treasure trove.
It would be incredible.
Of knowledge waiting to be rediscovered.
Totally.
That's amazing.
It really speaks to the ephemeral nature of knowledge and the importance of preserving and sharing it.
Yeah, this whole conversation has been incredibly insightful.
Well, thank you.
I feel like I've gained a new appreciation for Ibn al-Qayyim.
Yeah, me too.
And the impact he had on Islamic thought.
He was a remarkable scholar.
Yeah.
Really ahead of his time.
So for anyone listening who's intrigued by what they've heard so far, how would you suggest they explore Ibn al-Qayyim's work further?
Well, there are many translations of his writings available.
Okay.
I would suggest starting with one of his shorter works that focuses on practical spirituality or personal growth.
Okay.
You might find his insights surprisingly relevant to the challenges we face today.
And perhaps in studying his life and ideas, we can gain a deeper understanding not only of history and theology, but also of ourselves.
Exactly. Exploring the journeys of great thinkers like Ibn al-Qayyim can illuminate our own paths and inspire us to live more meaningful and fulfilling lives.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into the life and work of Ibn al-Qayyim, I encourage you to reflect on what resonated with you the most. Perhaps it was his intellectual independence, his unwavering faith, or his profound insights into the human heart.
All good things to ponder.
Whatever it may be, I hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity.
Me too.
And inspired you to delve deeper into the rich tapestry of knowledge that history offers us.
Absolutely. Okay, so, we were talking about his focus on the heart. And how important that was to him and his spirituality.
Right.
Well, he didn't just talk about it abstractly.
Okay.
He used a lot of really vivid imagery.
Oh, really? Like what?
To get his point across. For example, he compared different types of heart to houses.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he would say, imagine a heart that's filled with faith. It's like a king's treasure vault.
Okay.
Heavily guarded against thieves.
against what kind of thief?
Well, in this case, the thief is
Good
like
point.
negative thoughts
Right.
and destructive desires.
So like the things that would try to steal your faith,
Exactly.
that's a really powerful image.
It is, isn't it?
So it makes you think, like, how do you cultivate a heart like that?
That's the big question, right?
Like a heart that's strong and resilient.
Yeah, how do you build that kind of strength?
Especially in the face of all of life's challenges.
Exactly. Because life can throw some curveballs.
For sure.
And he believed it was a twofold path.
Okay.
You need both knowledge
Uh-huh.
and action.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So like studying the Quran, learning about God's attributes,
Right.
that's essential for sure.
Okay.
But it's not enough on its own.
Gotcha.
You can't just read about it.
Right.
You have to actually live it.
Okay.
Put those teachings into practice.
So it's like having all the knowledge in a cookbook,
Yeah.
but never actually cooking the meal.
That's a great way to put it.
You're not going to get nourished.
No, you're just going to be hungry.
Right. Just reading about delicious food.
Exactly. And Ibn al-Qayyim,
Yeah.
he was a living example of this.
He really walked the walk.
He was known for his deep devotion and his commitment to actually living
Right.
what he preached,
Totally.
not just talking the talk.
Yeah. But earlier you also mentioned that his life wasn't without sorrow. Despite his profound faith, he still went through
Yeah, he did.
tough time.
Unfortunately, he experienced the same kind of pain and sorrow
Right.
that all humans face.
Yeah. Nobody's immune to that.
Not at all.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the biography
Mhm.
recounts this particularly poignant event
Okay.
where he lost a young child
Oh, wow.
during the Hajj pilgrimage.
That's like
It's really heartbreaking.
one of the holiest journeys
It is.
a Muslim can make.
Exactly. And to lose a child
Right.
during that time,
I can't imagine.
it must have been devastating.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
limited communication and travel.
Makes it even more tragic.
Yeah.
So the biography describes how he searched for days
Oh, wow.
before finally accepting the loss.
Oh, man. That's just heartbreaking.
It is.
And he wrote about this experience
He did.
later on,
Mhm.
reflecting on how he turned to God for comfort
Right.
and found solace in his faith.
Exactly.
That story is such a powerful reminder
It is.
that even the most learned scholars,
Yeah.
the most devout individuals,
Mhm.
they're not immune
No.
to life's challenges.
Right. They go through the same
Right.
hardships as everyone else.
They experience grief and loss just like anyone.
It's part of being human.
But it also highlights how faith can provide strength
Absolutely.
and resilience
Yeah.
in those times of adversity
Definitely. It shows the power of faith.
to help us through those tough moments.
To find meaning even in the midst of suffering.
Yeah.
To find solace and support.
That's really beautiful.
It is.
So we've talked about his incredible library,
Yeah, the one that scholars compared to an ocean.
an ocean of knowledge.
Right.
It makes me wonder, what happened to all those books
Oh, that's a good question.
of after he passed away?
Yeah, what happened to all those books?
Right, like where did they go?
Well, it turns out
Yeah.
it's a bit of a mystery.
Oh, not really.
Huh.
They didn't mention that in the bio.
Sadly.
So, like, are they lost forever?
Well, we don't know for sure.
Hmm.
You see, in those days,
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty common for personal libraries
Okay.
to get
Dispersed.
Yeah, like divided up
Oh,
among students, family members,
Mm.
even sold off.
wow. So they just kind of
Yeah,
went their separate ways?
exactly. They had scattered.
So it's possible
Yeah,
that some of them were preserved,
it's possible.
but likely
Yeah,
that the majority of his collection is
Yeah.
scattered.
possibly even lost to history.
That's both sad and fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
Like, on the one hand, it's sad to
Yeah.
think that all that knowledge
Yeah.
might be gone.
Right.
But then on the other hand,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to think that maybe some of those books
Hmm.
are still out there
Right.
somewhere.
Tucked away.
Yeah, in some like private collection.
Yeah.
Or a forgotten corner of a library.
Yeah, just waiting to be rediscovered.
What a treasure trove
I know.
that would be.
It would be incredible.
It really speaks to how fragile knowledge is
It does.
and how important it is
Yeah,
to preserve and share it.
absolutely. Because you never know
Right.
when something might be lost.
Yeah, this whole conversation has been really insightful.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, I feel like I've gained a new appreciation for Ibn al-Qayyim
Yeah, he was a remarkable scholar.
and the impact he had on Islamic thought.
Really ahead of his time.
So for anyone listening
Yeah.
who's intrigued by what they've heard, how would you suggest they explore his work further?
Well, there are a lot of translations available of his writings. And I would suggest starting with one of his shorter works that focuses on practical spirituality or personal growth. Because you might find his insights surprisingly relevant to the challenges we face today, even though he lived centuries ago.
Right, and maybe in studying his life and ideas, we can gain a deeper understanding not only of history and theology, but also of ourselves.
Exactly, exploring the journeys of these great thinkers like Ibn al-Qayyim. It can really illuminate our own paths and inspire us to live more meaningful and fulfilling lives.
Absolutely.
You know, it's amazing how relevant his ideas still feel.
I know, right?
Even though he lived centuries ago.
He's crazy.
His insights into faith and spirituality, the human heart, they're just as powerful today.
Yeah. It really makes you think.
It does.
What was it about Ibn al-Qayyim that resonated most with you?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's the combination of his deep intellect, his unwavering faith, and his very human experiences with joy and sorrow.
He wasn't just this, like, untouchable figure
Not at all.
in a history book.
He was a real person who faced real-life challenges.
Just like us.
Yeah, just like we do today.
He grappled with loss.
Right.
Found strength in his beliefs.
Exactly.
And dedicated his life to pursuing knowledge.
He really embodies that human desire to learn, to connect with something greater than ourselves, and to try to make sense of the world.
It's inspiring.
It is.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
I'm glad to hear that.
I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for Ibn al-Qayyim.
Yeah.
And for the impact he had on Islamic thought.
He left a lasting legacy.
He did.
So for anyone listening who wants to learn more about Ibn al-Qayyim, where would you point them?
That's a great question because I'm definitely curious to learn more.
Well, luckily, there are many translations of his writings available.
Oh, good.
And I would suggest starting with one of his shorter works that focuses on practical spirituality or personal growth.
Okay.
You might be surprised how relevant his insights are to the challenges we face today.
Even though he lived so long ago.
Exactly. It shows you how timeless some of these ideas really are.
And, you know, maybe in studying his life and ideas, we can gain a deeper understanding not only of history and theology, but also of ourselves.
I think that's a great point.
Right.
Exploring the journeys of these great thinkers, it can really illuminate our own paths.
I love that.
And inspire us to live more meaningful lives.
So well said.
Well, thank you.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive
That's good.
into the life and work of Ibn al-Qayyim.
It's been a pleasure.
But before we go, I want to encourage all of you listening to reflect on what resonated with you most.
Yeah, what stood out to you?
About his story. Maybe it was his intellectual independence.
That's a big one.
His unwavering faith or his insights into the human heart and how those insights are still relevant today.
Exactly.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity.
Me too.
And inspired you to keep learning.
Keep exploring these fascinating figures from history.
Because you never know what you might discover.
Absolutely. And how it might change your perspective.
So until next time, keep diving deep.
Happy exploring, everyone.